Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Sport Talk. I am your host, Evan, and today we have a little bit of a different video for you guys. I'm going to be going through my 2022 NCAA bracket, and this is going to be a 4-part series. I'm going to go through each region, and that'll be 4 different videos. So the first region we're going to start off with is the West. And the first game is against the 1-16 seed Gonzaga versus Georgia State. Gonzaga is the overall number 1 seed. They have 2 Wooden Award players in Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme, and they're just dominant. They're the number 1 overall seed for a reason, and I don't think Georgia State stands much of a chance. Georgia State did finish with an 18-10 record, and they're led by senior guard Corey Allen, who averaged 15 points a game. They've only played 2 games over the Quad 3 level, and both of them were blowout losses, so they don't have many good wins on their resume. And they're outside the top 200 in Ken Palm's adjusted offensive efficiency, and they're not good enough defensively to make up for that. But they were the top defensive unit in the Sun Belt, but also one of the worst offensive groups. So I think that Gonzaga is just going to be too talented for them, and I think it's going to be an easy win there for the Bulldogs. Now moving on to the second game, we have Boise State and Memphis. These 8 and 9 seed games are always a good one. Starting off with Boise State, they finished with a record of 27-7. And they're led by forward Abu Kajab, who averaged 15 points a game. But they are one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the nation. Memphis, on the other hand, they finished with a record of 21-9, and they're led by projected top 5 pick Jalen Duren, who is averaging 12, 7, and 2 blocks a game. Their big wins, they swept Houston and beat Alabama, but they do commit 15 turnovers a game. They have committed 15 turnovers a game over their final 10 games of the regular season. So they have been a bit shaky. And for that reason, I'm still going to have them beating Boise State because Boise State is a more veteran team, but I think that Jalen Duren is a better player than anybody that Boise State has. And I think that free throw shooting is going to end up hurting them. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think that Boise is going to end up winning that one. Now we're moving on here to the 5th and 12th seeds, UConn and New Mexico State. UConn, they're one of the favorite teams in college basketball this tournament, and they're pretty good as we'll look here. They're 3-4 against top 25 teams, 17th in BPI rank. They have wins over Villanova, Auburn, and Marquette. They're not the best shooting squad, but they are dominant on the boards as they corral nearly 40% of their offensive rebounds. And New Mexico State, they finished with a 26-6 record. They're led by Nebraska transfer Teddy Allen, who is averaging 19 points per game. They have 3 wins over Ken Palm's top 100 teams, but they're 0-9 in the NCAA tournament past history. So I think that the UConn Huskies are gonna beat them. I think New Mexico State's gonna give them a scare, but I think that UConn is going to end up winning that one. This next game is between the 4 and 13 seed Arkansas and Vermont. Arkansas finished one of the better teams in the SEC, led by J.D. Notte, who is a explosive 3-level guard. They have a good, solid rotation of guys, and they've had some big wins, including Kentucky. They beat Kentucky here recently. Tennessee, Auburn, LSU. So they have some good SEC wins there on their resume. And Vermont, they are an interesting team. They finished with a record of 28-5, and they're led by guard Ben Shungu, who averaged 16 points, and forward Ryan Davis, who averaged 17 points. They're a bit undersized, and they have issues defending the three, but they do lead the nation in defensive rebounding. But I think with them having troubles guarding the three, that's really part of JT Note's game. He's a great three-point shooter, and so I think he's going to have a great game against Vermont, and I think Arkansas is going to take this one. Now, this next one is going to be a good game as well. Before we start, it's the Rutgers and Notre Dame are playing in the first four, and I have Rutgers winning that one. And I have Rutgers beating Alabama. Alabama has been one of the more inconsistent teams this past season. They have some good wins and they have some really bad losses. They're led by J.D. Davis, and they have a great shooting in Shackelford. And they've put together, like I said earlier, they put together good wins, bad losses. But I think Rutgers, I think Ron Harper is going to play really well, and I think they're going to end up upsetting Alabama. And yeah, this next game is the 3 and 14th seed, Texas Tech and Montana State. I have Texas Tech winning this one fairly easily. They're one of the best, if not the best, defensive team in this bracket. They have some big wins, obviously, against Baylor, Kansas, Tennessee, Texas. So they have some real big wins there. But it's interesting because their coach that led them to the Final Four last year left, so nobody thought that they would be as good as they have been. And they have shown that they're still a great program, as they ended up with the 3 seed. But Montana State, they finished with a 27-7 record. They're led by guard Xavier Bishop, who averaged 14 points a game. And they draw a lot of fouls, but they also commit a lot of fouls too. But I think Texas Tech's defense is just going to be too much for Montana State, and I think that they're going to end up losing that game. Now, this next one is the 7th and 10th seed, Michigan State and Davidson. I have Davidson upsetting the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State's been another one of those teams that's been kind of inconsistent. They ended the season on some great games, beating Purdue, but Davidson is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. They finished with a 27-6 record. They're led by Hyunjung Lee, who averaged 16 points, and 6'10" center Luke Brajakovic, who averaged 14 points per game. And they have 2 quad 1 victories, and they're shooting 39% from the three-point line, but they are in the bottom half of defense efficiency. But I do think that their shooting is going to really overpower Michigan State, and I think they're going to end up coming up with a dub on this one. This next game is Duke and CSU Fullerton, 2 and 15th seed. I think Duke is going to win this one by a lot. Duke has been inconsistent this year, but I think they're a lot better than CS Fullerton. Fullerton, they ended with a record of 21 and 10. They're led by Tennessee transfer EJ Anosike, who averaged 16 points per game. They are a below average shooting team, and they have held their opponents to just 91 points per 100 possessions, which is not great. And so I think Duke, with Paolo Banchero, AJ Griffin, Wendell Moore, Trevor Keels, they have 5 guys that are projected to go in this year's first round of the draft. So I think that their talent is just gonna be too much for this CSU Fullerton team. Now into the round of 32, we have a matchup between Gonzaga and Memphis, and I think Gonzaga is going to continue their dominance. Memphis has been kind of like these other teams where they've been inconsistent at times. They're very young and they have a great player, obviously, in Jalen Duren, but the Gonzaga Bulldogs also have a great front court with Timmy and Chet Holmgren. And I just think that their inconsistencies and their turnovers are really going to hurt them against the disciplined Gonzaga, a disciplined and veteran-led Gonzaga team. Now we have number 5 and 4, UConn and Arkansas. This one is tough because, like I said earlier, Arkansas has had some really big wins, and obviously I'm high on JT Note. I think he's a great offensive player. And I think they're going to be able to take this one just due to the fact that UConn can't shoot threes very well. To win in the NCAA tournament, you have to shoot threes, you have to play great defense. And UConn doesn't isn't very efficient at shooting threes, and their defense can't make up for that. And I think that Arkansas's offense is going to overpower that defense, and UConn's not going to be able to do enough to overcome that. Now, this next game is Rutgers and Texas Tech, the 3-11 seed. I have Texas Tech winning this one pretty easily. Like I said earlier, Texas Tech is the best defensive team in this bracket. And yes, Rutgers has some good players in Ron Harper Jr., and they have a good center. I'm not even going to try to say his name because it's very long. But I just think Texas Tech's their team is just better, led by guys like Terrence Shannon and last year's most surprising tournament player, Kevin O'Banner, who transferred from Oral Roberts. I think that those two guys are going to carry them offensively, and I just think their defense is going to be too much for Texas Tech. Now, this one is close. Davidson and Duke. I think Davidson is, again, going to shoot the lights out, but I think Duke, just with as much talent as they have, I think that's going to take them at least into the Sweet 16. Davidson is good, but as I said earlier, Duke has 5 guys that are projected top first-round picks, and I just think that Palabanchero, he's up for winning an award, potential first-round pick. I think he's going to have a great game against Davidson, who's not known for having great interior defense, and I think Duke is going to move on to the Sweet 16. Now we're here at the Sweet 16. We have a matchup against Gonzaga and Arkansas, and I had Gonzaga winning this one. It's a common theme here. They're one of the most dominant teams in college basketball, and I think they're going to show that again in this game against Arkansas. I think JD Note is going to get his, and Arkansas does have a great center. They run a very fast-paced offense, but I think Gonzaga again is just going to be too disciplined for them, and I think they're going to end up coming up with the win. Next, we have Texas Tech and Duke. I have Texas Tech winning this one, but by a narrow margin. I think they're going to be able to figure out how to stop Duke's leading scorers. I think they're going to slow them down. I think they're going to basically just outscore them, and I think that it's going to be a really great game. It's going to be a star-studded one, but I think Texas Tech's defense is going to help them more than Duke's offense. Plus, Duke is, like I said earlier, they've been a little bit inconsistent at times, and I think those inconsistencies are going to start to show. And then this Texas Tech Gonzaga game, this will be a great one, but I still have Gonzaga winning. Gonzaga is just so good this year. They have guys all over the court that are just phenomenal, and I think that they're going to take that one fairly easily. I think it'll be a good game, but I just don't think Texas Tech has the offensive power to really stick with Gonzaga. So a review of my West bracket. I have Gonzaga playing Memphis, UConn playing Arkansas, Rutgers playing Texas Tech, and then Davidson playing Duke. And then in my Sweet 16, I have Gonzaga playing Arkansas and Texas Tech playing Duke. And then in the Elite Eight, I have Gonzaga and Texas Tech, and I have Gonzaga moving on to the Final Four. So that is my entire West side of the bracket. Let me know what you guys think of these picks, if you agree with them or ones that you don't agree with. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.